It's episode 463 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. It's playoff day. The first day of the MLB playoffs is here. There's no Rangers team in there, but there are some former Rangers in there. I'm going to talk about which former Rangers you should be able to watch in this playoffs, make some playoff predictions before they start, and all kinds of other good stuff on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Brice Paterik. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day, even in the offseason. If you're still making us your first listen of the day, I really appreciate that. If you're not, I'd appreciate it if you did. If not, no worries. But I appreciate you for watching and or listening. If you're not watching, you can go subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Look up Locked On Rangers. See the one where they're talking about baseball, not the one where they're talking about hockey. Fine podcast, but not my podcast. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Now, the playoffs are starting, which, as fans of non-contending teams, it's my favorite time of year because I get to enjoy baseball again. I mean, I always tell myself and tell you, the listeners or watchers or just random people who are my neighbors who happen to hear me through the wall, to remember to enjoy baseball. And, sometimes it gets hard to do that when your team is losing 102 games. But, we get to watch playoff baseball and you don't have a team that's really your team that has a rooting interest. So the highs and lows of the postseason aren't nearly as high or low. I still really enjoy those highs when, I'm a neutral fan. Like when that insane play happened in the World Series last year, where the Rays ended up winning, Randy Arozarena tripped, and all kinds of things went wrong. I enjoyed the holy heck out of that play. I also didn't have a heart attack because it wasn't my team that was happening to, but I still really enjoyed it. And, there are a lot of former Rangers that are in the playoffs. Nearly every team has a former Ranger that pitched for the Rangers or played for the Rangers in some capacity. And, there's a lot of significant ones in there, or at least ones that are significant to me. And so I wrote a little bit about this for the Dallas Morning News last night. If you haven't read it, go check out my Twitter, or I will link it in the audio version of this podcast show description. So go check that out. But I'm going to start in the AL East. The AL East champs, the Braves, which, I really respect the Braves for, even when they lost so many star players, so many great players. Ronald Acuna Jr., who had over 900 OPS, I think it was near 1,000 when he got hurt. They still went for it because they're like, you know what, the NL East is bad. And hats off. I really respect them doing that. And they've got two relievers that are former Rangers. Luke Jackson, he pitched fewer than 20 innings with the Rangers. Had an electric fastball, pretty good slider. They thought he was going to be a starter for a while. And it just didn't work out. So they traded him for pieces that just did not work out at all. Just really kind of all right, you want this guy? Take him, see if you can fix him. And they did. He has been doing pretty good work for the Atlanta Braves this year. He threw 63 and 2/3 innings and struck out 70, while putting up a career best 1.98 ERA. He was pitching in key situations. He's done fairly well for them in the past. Has pitched in the postseason before because, he's been with the Braves and they've been doing a lot of postseasoning lately. So good on him. Good luck to him. Wish nothing but the best for Luke Jackson. Really great dude. Really kind of funny guy. One of the better Florida men that I have had the pleasure of rooting for. And another reliever in their bullpen is Chris Martin. Yeah, the Arlington native spent a season and a half with the Rangers, and the Rangers flipped him for Colby Allard, which felt like a pretty good deal at the time. Martin has been doing fine enough with the Braves, not in as big a role as he was last season. But, still doing fine work. It feels like so long ago that they flipped him there, and he's been there for a while. He's now 35, has a 3.95 ERA in 43 and a third innings, struck out 33. But, fine work, fine enough work. Didn't allow a lot of home runs, under 1 per 9 innings. Walks were fantastic, 1.2 per 9 innings. Really solid stuff from him there. A guy who has been there, who has done that, and has been in Atlanta for quite a while. So good on him. Drew Smiley is another former Ranger who only pitched for the Rangers very briefly. Didn't have a very long stay with the Rangers, but has done fairly well. I didn't see a turnaround for him. He started 23 of the 29 games he pitched in, 126 and 2/3 innings, struck out fewer than a batter per inning, had an ERA of 4.48, which is pretty high for the National League, but still did fine enough work. In case you were wondering, he pitched for the Rangers back in 2019, had an 8.42 ERA in 51 and a third innings. Not a great time with the Rangers, but has turned around and done fairly well this year and did well last year with the Giants as well, granted in a very limited sample size. So those are the Braves that have pitched on the Rangers or played to the Rangers. There's no position players that have played on the Rangers that are on the Braves. Now let's look at the next division winner. We're going a little bit more central. We have got the Brewers, and there's really not much there. I don't think there's a single Ranger on the Brewers. They're one of the few teams that does not have any former Rangers on there. Just keep scrolling through, and there's absolutely nobody on here, and nobody I saw that was definitely noteworthy. So let's go ahead and move on, and we keep on going to the West. The Giants. Not a whole lot in the way of former Rangers there. If you want to count him, which, I don't, but you certainly can. Friend of Joey Gallo, Chris Bryant, is on there. So if you want to count that, then that's about as close as you get. Other than that, there's really nobody. I thought there was somebody on the 60-day IL that was a former Ranger, but I'm seeing that I am sorely mistaken. So we're another team that does not have any former Rangers on the roster for their postseason. Now let's move on to the Dodgers, who have nobody on their roster who pitched for the Rangers in the big leagues, but do have a former Ranger who is actually went to college in Texas, Cory Kluber, a guy who is doing really well in their bullpen, was with the Rangers. I believe they traded him in the Joakim Soria trade to the Brewers. I believe they even got him from the Brewers. Did not. Cory Kluber, 2.45 ERA in 27 games this year, 25 and 2/3 innings. Is a guy who was drafted out of the University of Texas by the Tigers in the first round back a few years ago. Let me double check this. He was traded by the Rangers with Marcos Duplan and Luis Sardinas to the Brewers for Giovanni Gallardo. The Rangers acquired him along with Jake Thompson in the Joakim Soria trade back in 2014. So did not pitch for the Rangers in the major leagues, but still did some solid work in getting them Giovanni Gallardo, who did some decent work for the Rangers. Now we move on to the Cardinals, the team that I am at the bottom. I actually think I'm rooting for them more than the Astros. Not that I'm rooting for them at all, but if I were, this would be the team right there at the bottom. But first, I'm going to take this quick break and hear this word from our sponsors and come back, look a little bit more at former Rangers on each of these teams right after this. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, there's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Parts you do are often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning about your car, which things you might not know, and wait for the person behind the counter to order the parts on their computer, choosing from only the brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why'd you spend with 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? That's way too much more. That's way too much more. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every single customer. They've got everything you need from all kinds of things. If you're a car person, you probably know much better than I do. So go explore their easy-to-use website today. Find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in their How'd You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. Now, let's look at this Cardinals team. There is one major former Ranger. Well, he's not even really major, but there's a lot of familiar faces that did beat the Rangers in 2011 in that World Series. Just kidding. I forgot that I'm in denial about that, that the Rangers beat in 2011 to win a World Series. Yes, Adam Wainwright, who didn't pitch that year. Yadi Molina still there. Other than that, everybody else is not there. It still blows my mind that they got Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado for, basically nothing for how great they are. They're both doing amazing. Yadier Molina is still there. He's 38 years old, and he has a 667 ER or OPS and 11 home runs this year as a 38-year-old catcher who caught 121 games. That's still absolutely insane to me. But good on him. Adam Wainwright is there and 39 years old with a 3.05 ERA. But we're here to talk about former Rangers, and none of those guys are former Rangers. But a guy who is a former Ranger, Miles Michaelis. Are you thinking, huh? Who the heck is that guy? Miles Michaelis is a former All-Star. He's a 32-year-old. Hasn't been doing super well this year. Has missed time. Only started 9 games, just under 45 innings for him, but he came back and is healthy for this postseason run. He was a former Ranger in 2014. Yeah, he was a member of the 2014 Texas Rangers, then took 3 years off to go pitch in Japan, totally reinvented himself, came back in 2018, was an All-Star in his first season back in the league, had a 283 ERA in just over 200 innings. But yeah, pitched 10 games, 57 of the third innings with the Rangers in 2014. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of former Rangers for this. I just saw him coming back, and he's also a guy who you might know him for eating crickets. Yeah, that was a thing that happened. Go look up at that video, or probably don't. Actually, don't look up that video. It's kind of gross and weird, but happy for him finding success. Very sad with the Cardinals, but, it's fine. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the American League. The best team in the American League in the regular season was the Tampa Bay Rays. And, I had to think that's at least mostly in part to these former Rangers that were doing absolute work. Yeah, in case you forgot, Nelson Cruz is a former Ranger. Yeah, he's on the Rays. In case you missed that, he was with the Twins. He got traded to the Rays. Didn't do as well there, but is still an absolute force in the postseason. He continues to defy Father Time. Yeah, he's 41 years old now. 41. He's listed on Baseball Reference as 40 because it's his age 40 season, because he started the season at age 40, but he turned 41 on the very first day of July. In 2011, in case you forgot, Nelson Cruz is the reason the Rangers went to the 2011 World Series. You get mad at him about the defense stuff in the World Series, and it's more of I've rehashed this issue a million times, and I'll probably rehash it a million more. It's not his fault that he was out there. It is his fault that he was playing no doubles defense, but without his bat, the Rangers don't get to the World Series. The Tigers were extremely good that year. They were incredibly good. They had 3 guys who were just absolutely nails at the top of the rotation. They had Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Oh, and Miguel Cabrera, and their lineup was absolutely just absurd that year. In 6 games, Nelson Cruz just absolutely went to work on him. Hit 6 home runs, including a walk-off grand slam. I believe he's top 10 with his 17 career postseason home runs. He has an OPS of 1,019 in 46 career playoff games. Yeah, he has been ridiculously good. He hit 32 home runs in the regular season at the age of 41. Guy continues to defy Father Time. Also, Pete Fairbanks, a reliever that just absolutely soared through the Rangers ranks after getting a second Tommy John surgery, granted him superpowers of incredible velocity and being really stinking good at baseball. He went from single A to the majors. In 1 year, he has been with the Rays ever since. It was a 1-for-1 trade in the Nick Solak trade, which, again, never trade with the Rays. Just don't do it. They're going to get the best of you. And if they ask for one of your players, just assume that person is going to be fantastic, and tell them, no, suck it. We're not doing that. Unfortunately, the Rangers didn't do that, and they traded to him, and he's been really solid. Not as much this year, but he's just got some wicked velocity. He's still 27 years old. A 3.59 ERA in just under 43 innings and 56 strikeouts. Also, another former Ranger, Jeffrey Springs, who's on the 60-day IL, pitched in 43 games, just under 45 innings, struck out 63. A guy who showed nothing close to this level of promise, but still did amazing with the Rays, because of course he did. Of course he did. That's what everyone does. And it's not fair. It's not fair. Rays, stop being so good, or spend money and be better. Like, pick one. Pick a lane, because you make me very, very angry. So those are the former Rangers on the Rays. Now we look further into that division. And the Yankees, if you're just picking based purely on numbers, the Yankees have the most former Rangers on their roster. Yeah. Did they all play for a long time with the Rangers? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The main one is Joey Gallo. Yes, Joseph Nicholas Gallo had a rough start to his time there in New York. We talked about that a lot. We talked about how he misses the Rangers because I still miss him. This is actually my Joey Gallo Texas Ranger jersey. That's why it's a little tighter than I would like because I bought it when I was a thinner man filled with more hope that Joey Gallo would actually be playing his first playoff game with the Texas Rangers. But sometimes dreams die. Joey Gallo's dream of being a Yankee did not die. And, he found his footing with the Yankees in 28 games in September. From September 1st to the end of the regular season, Joey hit 8 home runs. This will be his first playoff game. He has a penchant, as we know, for hitting home runs in big games. He hit a home run, I believe a walk-off home run in his Double-A debut, if memory serves correctly, which it might not because my memory is not great, but I'm pretty darn sure that happened. I do remember being in the crowd watching Joey Gallo hit his first home run at the big league level in his debut game. Of course he did. First time he faced Clayton Kershaw, what did he do? Hit a 450-foot massive bomb in Dodger Stadium. I believe he whiffed the first 2 times, but he did get Clayton Kershaw for an absolutely massive bomb. Also, what did he do in his debut, his farewell game? He hit a home run that won the Rangers the game. And then he left and made me sad, but it's not his fault. It's not your fault, Joey. It's not your fault. So this man knows how to hit big home runs. Also, in his first series against the Rangers, it wasn't his first game back against the Rangers. I think his neck was still bothering him those first 2. But in his first series against his former club, he had hit an absolute massive tater. So this guy knows how to come up big in big moments. He hasn't had the chance to do it at the big league level yet, but we all knew he was going to get to play in postseason games, whether it's going to be with the Rangers or with someone else. And sadly, it's with someone else. So good luck to Joey Gallo in the wild card game tonight. You're making me cheer for the Yankees, and I feel dirty and gross about it. So you better at least do well, because if you make me appreciate and root for the Yankees and you lose, I'm just going to be real mad. But I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back and look at the other 3 former members of the Rangers that are on the Yankees and some of the other teams, and then make some playoff picks real quick right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by betonline.ag. We're back and better than ever, and all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. So like I said, there are 4 former Rangers on this club, and all of them actually were traded. Well, excuse me. Cory Kluber was not traded, but he was last on the Rangers before he was on the Yankees. We have Rougned Odor, who has done fairly solid work. I do feel it's necessary to point out he did leave, and Nick Solak was basically the heir apparent at second base, and that's kind of why the Rangers shipped him off. Nick Solak did have a bad year, but he did have a higher OPS than Rougned Odor. Rougned Odor had a 665 OPS, just for context. Granted, I don't think he hit more home runs than Odor. Odor had 15 home runs this year, but it's fine. Odor did fine in 102 games, played some third base for the first time in his major league career. Did fine. Good for him. He has played in the playoffs before. I believe it was in 2015 and 16. Let me double check this real quick because he was called up in 2014. Like I said, in 2015 and 16. So he has 8 games of playoff experience. Has a 864 OPS in the playoffs. Yeah, he has 2 postseason home runs in those 8 games. Also had a double. Did really well in that first ALDS in 2015, hit 278 on base of 381. Yeah, 381. That was only with 1 walk because, context is smaller. Only struck out 4 times in 21 plate appearances. So, yeah, did fairly good work there. And we all know how it ended up there after that. Cory Kluber is another former Ranger that is on this team. He's not going to start in the wild card game. So if they lose, then he's not going to get a chance for another postseason start. He is a 35-year-old who has pitched 80 innings for the team this year. He also no-hit the Rangers. One of the 2 no-hitters that were thrown against the Rangers. It's fine. I'm fine. We're all fine. Also, he was the one who the Rangers acquired by trading Emmanuel Clase, who has a 102-mile-an-hour cutter, who he used to give the Rangers their 102nd loss of the season and end their season. He's a Coppell grad and only pitched 1 inning for the Rangers. It's not his fault. I'm still mad. I'm not mad at him. I'm just mad at his arm and his injuries. This would be his 10th postseason start. Has been walloped a little bit in the past, but did all right. And I believe he pitched in the World Series that the Cubs ended up winning in 7 games. Joey Rodriguez has done very well, a 2.84 ERA in 19 innings of work. He was part of the Joey Gallo trade. It was supposed to be John King, but I'm pretty glad that it was Joey Rodriguez. There were some health concerns that came up. That is why John King is still a member of the Rangers, and I believe went on the 60-day IL almost immediately after that. But yeah, Martin Perez is a former Ranger who is on the Red Sox. They will not be pitching in this one. He's done fine. He's been away from the Rangers for 3 years. He also has 1 postseason start, and I don't think the Red Sox are going to win. They might. I mean, it's going to be pretty close. Both these teams are really good. But in his 1 postseason start, Martin Perez went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs in a 5-1 ALDS Game 3 loss to Toronto. He put up a 4.76 ERA and 114 innings of work with Boston this season. Moved to the bullpen after not being a super great starter. Had an ERA plus around 100, so just right about league average, which that's about what he is. And before Dane Dunning, he was the most successful homegrown pitcher the Rangers had developed, basically outside of Matt Harrison, in, I don't know, a decade. So good luck, Martin Perez. Not as good luck as I'm wishing to Joey Gallo. I still hope you get nothing but nice things. And I guess if you move on, that's consolation. Now, the last 2 former Rangers I'm here to talk about on the next to last postseason team. There are no former Rangers on the Astros. So, have no qualms about just hating on them with grueling intent. They deserve nothing but animosity and vitriol and hatred. Maybe there is a future Ranger on that team in Carlos Correa. I'm hoping not, for plenty of reasons. Fine player. I liked him a whole lot when he was coming up, but then he turned into kind of a heel for the Astros and really leaned into that a little bit more than I liked. I would have rather Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve lean into that so I could just keep on hating them because they were never a chance they were going to be Rangers. There's always a chance that Carlos Correa is going to come to Texas. The northern part of Texas, but I don't know. Anyway, Chicago White Sox have 2 former Rangers. Lance Lynn, of course, his first season with the White Sox, he continued absolutely dominating like he did when he was a member of the Texas Rangers. Put up a career best 2.69 ERA, which was pretty nice in 157 innings to go with 176 strikeouts. And that ERA would have been the best in the American League if he hit the number of required innings to be among the qualifiers. There were not a whole lot of qualifiers. I believe there were 15. And Jordan Lyles was among the qualifiers. He has a 4.80 ERA in 54 and a third postseason innings. He won a World Series with St. Louis, lost World Series with St. Louis in 2011. Still forgot that I was denying that. But he was a rookie out of the pen, hasn't started a whole lot of postseason games. But he is a completely different pitcher than he was back then. And also, by the way, he led his team in WAR, a 5.4 Baseball Reference WAR, higher than Carlos Rodon at 5.0 and higher than Tim Anderson at 4.6. And he pitched the 4th most innings among their pitching staff this year. So really solid year for Lance Lynn. Also, another former Ranger is there. You think, okay, who could it be? There's also Nick Williams who played 4 games there. I'm not counting him, but I am counting the Mr. Do-It-All, Leury Garcia, a 30-year-old who played in under 25 games, or I believe around 26 games for the Rangers. plays literally every single position. He was the main piece in the Alex Rios trade. The Alex Rios trade, in case you remember that. He is a 30-year-old now, has played in 9 big league seasons. Good on him. Honestly, I wasn't quite sure how strong a career he'd have. He was a guy who was a very much glove-first shortstop, excellent defensive shortstop, but now plays literally everywhere. He's played every position on the big league field outside of catcher and first base. Why he hasn't played first base, I don't know. Yes, he has pitched. He's played center field. He's played left field, right field, more games in the outfield than the infield, but still a pretty decent defender at shortstop. But they have Tim Anderson, third base, second base. This man can do it all. Not a lot of power, but, has played in 9 seasons and done a lot for them. Played in exactly 25 games with the Rangers back in 2013 before being traded. Good on you, Larry Garcia. Keep seeing him in White Sox lineups and think, that guy's still there. So I said I was going to make some postseason picks, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, looking at this postseason bracket. Now, let's start with the AL wildcard, because at this bracket I'm looking at, it's on the left. So I'm going to work left to right and just go through the entire AL, then go through the NL, then pick my World Series winner. And then if I'm feeling generous, I will pick a MVP for the World Series. First, I just want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day. Please keep making us your first listen. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already, and keep listening and keep appreciating the show, because I appreciate you guys and all you do listening to this show. Really means the world to me. Now, let's make some playoff picks that are almost assuredly going to be wrong, no matter how much thought and effort I put into this. Now, wildcard game. I say Yankees take it. I say Joey Gallo hits a massive walk-off bomb, and I cry a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Then we get the Yankees versus the Rays. I don't see the Yankees beating the Rays, especially since the Rays did such a number on them to end this season. The Rays are just such a stinking good baseball team. It makes me angry how good they are. I wish they were either better or worse. Not this "we're good enough to not spend money" thing. It's a whole other thing. But anyway, I picked the Rays. White Sox, Astros. I picked the White Sox. That's a pretty easy pick. I am not going to pick the Astros. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm just never going to pick the Astros. And once again, I am going to pick the White Sox against the Rays. I feel good. I feel good about this White Sox team. They're just very deep. They're very talented. And I know that the Rays are as well, but I trust the starting pitchers of the White Sox, and I trust their offense a little bit more. We saw Randy Arozarena go absolutely bonkers last postseason. He might do that again this year, but outside of that, their lineup, it felt like, was pretty thin. It's not that much thicker, deeper, whatever. I don't like the adjectives I'm using to describe the words here, but it's fine. Brandon Lau had a good year. Wander Franco is pretty good. Austin Meadows seemed to bounce back, but still, also Nelson Cruz was there. Oh gosh, am I talking myself into it? No, I'm not talking myself into it. Sorry, Nelson Cruz. Love you to death. Miss you. Wish you had never left the Rangers. Life would have been much better if you didn't. But the past is the past. And by the way, Darren O'Day also pitched for the Yankees this year. Just a fun little fact there. But yeah, I'm going to pick the White Sox to win the American League and go on to the World Series. Now, let's look at the NL bracket. I wish nothing but sadness and harm on the St. Louis Cardinals every single year. So I'm going to continue that trend and pick the Dodgers. And then let's look at the 1 versus 4. It's still insane that the Dodgers won over 100 games and they're a wild card team. And you know what? I feel weird doing this, but I'm sorry, Giants, but I think the Dodgers are just a better team. They have this team. Well, actually, there's still a lot of old people on this Giants team, but the Dodgers have more recent postseason success. I think they're a deeper team. I think their top end talent is more top end. And I might be proven wrong, but I still just don't get how this Giants team has been so good this year. So I am picking the Dodgers to go ahead to the NLCS. Braves versus Brewers. I'm feeling the Braves. I'm feeling the Braves. I've thought very little about this Brewers team. I still don't trust their lineup. I still don't trust the Brewers lineup. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. And they did win 95 games. and their pitching staff is really dang good. It's really dang good. I mean, in case you don't know this, Brandon Woodruff is really good. They're all under 30. Brandon Woodruff has been fantastic this year. Corbin Byrne has been just excellent. Freddie Peralta been really stinking good. Adrian Hauser, Eric Lauer as well. Brett Anderson, literally 6 starters deep. They're all really good. Josh Hader, can't stand him as a person, but a fine baseball pitcher. They've got Hunter Strickland, who's done very well. Brad Boxberger, Brent Suter. The bullpen is solid. But I don't trust this lineup. There are not that many guys that really scare me. Willie Adames has been solid. And Avisaíl Garcia has been solid as well. Eduardo Escobar has been decent in his 48 games of work, but there's just not that many guys that have an OPS over 800, and that scares me. And there's nobody that's consistent in their lineup that has an OPS over 900, so I just don't trust them to get it done in this series. I think it's going to be a really good series. I think it's going to be an offensively challenged series, but I trust this Braves lineup a lot more than I trust the lineup of the Brewers. As good as their pitchers have been, I just don't trust it. Anyway, that leaves us with Dodgers-Braves, a rematch in the NLCS. And you know what? I'm sorry, it's such a chalk pick, but it's the Dodgers are just so stupid good. They're just so good. It's hard to pick against them. Then we have a White Sox-Dodgers World Series rematch. They're going to be pitching their own stadiums. We're not going to get to see Lance Lynn in there, but I think not having Clayton Kershaw is going to be a problem for them. I think he's going to be out for most of the playoffs. He's on the IL right now. And Dave Roberts said he wasn't optimistic that he was going to pitch again this season. And he's going to be free agent after this year. Is he going to go back to Texas? No, he's probably not. He's probably going to sign a deal with the Dodgers, and that'll be fine. But Dodgers are going to miss him in this playoffs if he does not pitch. So I am going with the White Sox. I feel good about it. I don't feel that good about it. I feel good enough about it. It's fine. All these picks are probably going to be wrong. Just knowing me, every single one will be wrong, and we'll get a Cardinals-Astros World Series, and I will just want to die. And I will want baseball to end forever. But at this point, that's not what I'm picking because, I still have some hope and some faith. So, I'm picking for both those teams to lose at the earliest possible date. Hopefully a sweep in the case of the White Sox sweeping the Astros. And if the Astros go ahead and ruin my World Series winning pick in the first round, it'll give me more reason to hate the Astros, which, maybe that's a good thing. You can always use more reason to hate the Astros. But those are my picks. I did say that I was going to pick an MVP if I was feeling spicy. And you know what? Tim Anderson. I think Tim Anderson has an absolutely amazing series on the biggest stage. He's a guy who comes up clutch. And I want him to bat flip the holy hell out of a home run. I want to hit a walk-off home run in the postseason just so I can see how absolutely insanely jacked this guy gets. He is one who celebrates his own success and has fun and is very unapologetically himself and is so cool. He is probably the coolest star in baseball. Mookie Betts would be it, but I'm sorry, Mookie. This feels personal, but I can't get behind calling someone the coolest star if they're just super duper into bowling. Like, good on you. That's cool. That's great. I mean, it's not cool, but cool in my sense of the word. But Tim Anderson is just oozes cool. He is so talented, so much fun to watch, just like this White Sox team. So yeah, I feel decent about picking them to win the World Series. It might end up being a rematch of last year with the Dodgers and the Rays, which, in that case, should be some really good baseball all around. A lot of really good baseball teams. Wildcard game is going to be fun. In the AL, it's going to be fun. In the NL, unless the Cardinals win, then I'm going to be very angry because it's probably going to be because of some Cardinals devil magic. But it's fine. We're fine. Postseason is here. Good luck to Joey Gallo. Good luck to all the former Rangers, except for the ones that left and made me sad. But you know what? Good luck to even those guys. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. I'll be back later in this week doing a crossover with the new host of the Locked On Dallas Stars podcast. Talk about some crossovers, some, all kinds of stuff. Hockey and baseball going to be a lot of fun. Be sure to tune into that coming on later this week. I'm actually literally about to go get off this podcast and record that one. Should be out either tomorrow or sometime later on this week. Who knows if Joey Gallo hits a walk-off bomb in the wildcard game? I'm going to record an emergency podcast and go absolutely bonkers. Wait, just kidding. They're the away team. That's not going to be able to happen, but who cares? We're going to be watching playoff baseball tonight. So until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.